Greetings, welcome back to my channel. Here we are going to get started on Put a Ring on It, episode 4. As we left off last week, Dr. Nicole, of course, is meeting with the couples. She highlighted how she enjoyed her one-on-one session with Alfonso and Shay. And now she's about to proceed on what this week is going to be all about. And she started off with the couple that annoys me the most for some reason, and that's Otis and Shar. They basically, Dr. Nicole jumped in on, them, communicating better. And she feels that they need to, pluck their problems at the root, like she said last week. But of course, Otis is like, he's a little frustrated. He doesn't think that Dr. Nicole is listening to him. Otis, of course, thinks, his perspective on everything is the right perspective. And, Shar is not really getting into her issues or being totally, open and honest with Dr. Nicole. So they highlighted on their dates. Brent liked the communication, fun time he had with Milan. The doctor went and asked Shar how hers was. She said she enjoyed hers. She liked Brent. I don't like how she didn't talk about his professionalism, his political aspirations. She mentioned about him, wanting to be an astronaut, and everybody laughed. He thought it was a joke. Otis said, I wanted to be an astronaut when I was a child. And I'm like, why didn't you get into what, the man really talked about? So I think she really didn't dive hard enough into that. But now the doctor went on to Shorty. Shorty said she really liked her date with Hollywood. He's everything she prayed for. But at the same time, it confused me because she doesn't want a third date. She knows if she had a third date, the conversation and communication would be even deeper. And I think that scared her. So, Shorty, I don't know what you really want. But, of course, our man, Kenneth, was happy she's not going on a third date with Hollywood. He really didn't feel, that was necessary. He really doesn't see, he's totally oblivious to the fact that they have problems. And Shorty is the only one that really feels that way. So he went on to talk about his date and how, that basically didn't work for him. She was nice, but, he wants to stick with Shorty. He went on to say, she's the only playlist he wants to listen to. And that was that. So then she went on to Fonzo. Fonzo and our girl, Shay. Lordy, Lordy, Lordy. So this was a humdinger for the week because one of the things that Dr. Nicole talked about is they must, in order to have a strong relationship, it has to be based on trust. And that's not something that's here, okay? Trust is the foundation, of course, and if it's not based on trust, it's basically going to be on quicksand. Now, Shay and Alfonso's situation is basically fidelity. And Dr. Nicole asked that, what does fidelity look like to them? And Shay said, Fonzo doesn't know what that is. He goes with these friendships that's supposed to be platonic because Dr. Nicole said, you don't like, the fact that he has a friend that's platonic. She said he doesn't know what platonic means. That's the problem with his quote unquote friends. And they kind of laughed it off. And she said, that's the problem. You guys laugh things off, but she's the one that's left hurt. Shay is hurting. Do you care that she's in pain? Do you care that there's an issue with the relationship when you do this to her? And he basically said that was a good question, kind of shrugged it off. But then he said that laughing is a mechanism he uses to avoid deep conversations. But he really doesn't like seeing her hurt. And Shay went on to say how she doubts that, because when she's suspicious about things and it comes to light, Fonzo doesn't try to rectify it, not ease her trust. So the doctor said, well, she said, so what choice do I have but to walk away when he does this? And Dr. Nicole said, that's the point. You have a choice. That's one of the choices you can do. Basically, walk away. Now she went on to tell the couples that now this week they're going to focus on, who they're with. They're going on double dates, and the group is like, oh no, this is not going to work well. And of course, they all fail at that. But she said it's about holding up a mirror to you, and exercising your trust. Can you focus on your dates and not what's going on with your mate? She said, because these things now, it's time to face it head on. So now the couples are getting in the car, going back to their respective apartments, getting prepared for their double dates, which they all gonna be on simultaneously, and they all pissed off with each other. Basically, they're all arguing about their situations. It's not going too good. Otis and Shay was arguing. Now here Otis and Shar. Now you have Shay and Alfonso. They all talking about their respective issues and how the session went with Dr. Nicole. Now, old boy Kenneth and Shorty, they happy because they said this is the 1 week where they are not in the fire, because in the other weeks they feel like their head was basically on the chopping block. So they good. They the only ones that went home happy today. Now you have Shar now getting ready for Otis's date to come, and she's shooting back tequilas because she's like so nervous. And she said, well, what did we learn? Did we learn anything? What did you think about the session with Dr. Nicole? I think I learned, and she really understands what's going on with us. And I know what it is that I need to do. Do you know what it is that you need to do? He said, yeah, I know what I need to do. She was like, well, what is it that you need to do? I'm like, you didn't explain to him the specifics, Char, but you want him to tell you the specifics. So they basically always going tit for tat on what it is they need to do. So the thing about the problem that Otis has with Shar is that she always seems to think that he's the one that's always wrong, and she doesn't have anything to work on. So now here comes the date, and Milan comes in, and Char's like, oh, she said you're so pretty, and Char said you pretty too. But at the same time, she gives her shade and tells her, oh, you look like a little girl. And I'm like, come on, Char, all that was unnecessary. And then the kicker was she actually told the girl that her and Otis had a conversation. He said, oh, I didn't even realize she was my date when we first met, because she looks like a child. I'm like, that was like so shady, Char. So, of course, she had to interrogate her a little bit. So now they are on their way out and getting ready for their date. Now, here you have back at home, Shay's all excited. She lights up. Look at her. She just lights up when she sees Alfonso. She loves him to death. And, she's getting ready for the date. And, she asks him basically how he feels about it. He checking her out. He said, trying to cover up her little stuff. Like she was trying to do his date before, trying to have the girl cover up her stuff. And she's like, no, I like it the way it is. I'm like, how soon we forget, Shay? But, she gets into her emotions and a little sentimental because she realizes, this is like her worst nightmare. She's talking to Fonzo about how he feels about them going on this double date, how they gonna deal with this. And he's like, it's basically something that we gotta go through. But, he hates that she's upset about it. But this is a part of the process. And she said, whether this is consensual or not, nobody wants to see that man on another date. So she starts crying about it because this is Shay's worst nightmare. She's always fighting Fonzo for attention and, disrespecting her with other women. And now she has to actually go through this, on this process with the show. And he said he hates to see her cry. He doesn't want to see her hurt. But this is something that we basically have to go through. So he's laughing at it, and she really doesn't find the situation that funny. But she said, I take our relationship serious. And he says, I take our relationship serious too. It's just that, that's just his defense mechanism. He really doesn't know how to handle situations, so he laughs it off. And everything is not laughable. So now, did this not get on my nerves? This is Shar going on her date. They're doing yoga. And of course, Otis is coming in, doing yoga too. So they's going over, Brent is happy, he's thinking they really clicked the last time. He's happy that she wanted to go on another date with him. And remember, Dr. Nicole said you have to focus on your own date. Well, she's throwing shade already, Shar, saying he's here with his little daughter, doing yoga, and she is all obsessed with what Otis is doing. So they're talking, and he's like, Milan is trying to tell him, don't worry about what's going on, over there. Focus on what we have going on here. You have, a date with a new person. Everything is fresh and new. Let's just focus on me, us, and just, have a good time. So he was like, you're absolutely right. So then he asks about her tattoo on her back, and he's checking that out. And of course, Shar over there peeping on the sideline, so she's gonna have to do a little something in a minute to try to make him jealous. So she was like telling Brent, that's you know, uh Otis over there. He was like, for real? And yeah, he's on his little date, yada yada yada. And I'm sure Brent don't want to hear all that. So after Otis sees Milan's tattoos, he asked her, what do you think my tattoo would be? And she said, loyalty across the chest. He was like, no, or whatever, and laughed that off. I'm like, I guess she feels that he's loyal to his girlfriend. Who knows? So old girl Shaw is trying to make him jealous, telling Brent, to stretch and help her stretch while, she's preparing for yoga. And, Otis realizes you doing that to make me jealous. So now they're doing the techniques and exercises with the yoga trainer. And of course, Shar is looking. So they have to do this tree pose. And, he's not too steady. And, Milan is a little small. So I guess she really couldn't keep his weight up. So now Char's over there laughing to Brent about, oh, his little daughter or little girl over there. She wants somebody so strong to have his back, and she can't even hold him up, and thinking it's a joke. I'm like, focus, Char, on your dates. It was so annoying. So now they're going through their exercises, and she basically just watching Otis and laughing at him. So when yoga was over and they finished stretching and everything, he came over to give her a kiss. She was like, oh no, you can't get a kiss. He was like, okay, forget you then. And she was like, don't touch me. Go wash your hands. Because remember what he told her when she went on her first date. And that was it. He was acting like he was going out the door and then made a U-turn. I guess she really threw him off. And he was like, what the heck was that? He was like really upset that she did that, I guess, in front of Brett. But she's like, how dare he, want to give me a kiss and, in front of his date. Who does that? I'm like, you liked it. Look at her blushing. She loved every bit of that. It was ridiculous. She was just like a little child. So now we have Shorty and Kenneth, and they talking about going on their double dates, and they're at the apartment. And she said, are you going to behave? He's like, yeah, basically I'll behave as long as he's not over there touching on you or doing anything crazy. So basically disrespectful. She said, no, I don't think that's going to be the case, but we got to go through what we need to go through because, that's what Dr. Nicole wants because we got some issues to deal with. So I'm going to go through this process like I need to go through it. And he's like, well, I don't think we have a problem. Wake up, Kenneth. Yes, you do. Now here we go to woo, the showstopper of the night. We have Shar from, I think, Brooklyn with Shay. Nice gentleman, classy man. I like this brother. He was really, really nice. Pulled the chair up for her, was very cordial. He said, you're beautiful. You're my type. And, she said, oh, what's your type? And he basically, told her, open-minded, intelligent woman. And, she was flattered by that. And she's laughing and everything, having a good time until, who comes in. So she, they having their little tequila drink because he wanted her to, mellow out. And she said, you're supposed to wipe the corners of my mouth. And he was like, oh, okay. Then the man comes over and does the hibachi and said, you want a small fire or a big fire? And she says, I want a big fire for a big man or whatever. She's trying to flirt and kiki or whatever. So they having a nice little time. She gets a little distracted because Fonzo is coming in, with his girl in a minute. So they having a conversation and she basically asked him, what is it you see yourself doing in the next 5 years? And he said, being happy. So I understand that we want to be happy, but bro, you should have said a little bit more. So, Alfonso and his date, greeted outside. They coming in the restaurant. Um, then one one of the things was they sat down, they was talking, getting to know each other, and she was very, very nice, sister Tay Cherie from Detroit. And not trying not to pay any attention to Shay, like the doctor said, but of course Shay wasn't feeling that. She don't like to be ignored. She forgot all about the exercise, but this is what Shay has been battling for a long time. So Fonzo spoke to the brother, Shar. He spoke back, but he said nothing to Shay. Now, of course, that ticked her off because this is what she deals with constantly. So Shar, basically was having a conversation, trying to make her feel at ease. Like, don't worry about that situation over there. Just, focus on the big kahuna over here. So she laughed it off and, was chill with it. But, she really liked the fact that Shar tried to pay attention. He cared about how she felt. And on the other hand, Fonzo's over there, into his day acting like I'm Casper, forgetting all about her. But side note, that's what you're supposed to do, Shay. Focus on your own date. But she couldn't do that. So Tasha Ray smiled at her, said, "Oh, hi, how you doing? Oh, your girl is, over here looking at me." So she smiled, and now Shay is heated. Ain't got nothing to do with that hibachi grill. She was fanning with that napkin, upset. Do you hear me? Upset. So Tay told Fonzo, you in trouble later, right? You in trouble. So she said to her, Shay reached over and said, did you say something? You talking to me? You said something to me? So she kind of laughed it off, but she's bawling on the inside. And Tay was like, no, I didn't say anything. Nothing, because, if I was saying anything to you, I would, talk directly to you. So Shay goes pointing to Fonzo, oh, go get your date. I don't know who she's talking to, but get her. So she said, I don't know what uh this girl said to me. I just heard Fonzo something, something, something. I can't tell you what she said, but when somebody pointing their finger, it must be about something. So Shay is blacking out. She hearing things, she acting crazy because sis was like very respectful. She said, when you see her, make sure you speak to her. This is what she said to her, but Shay is taking it somewhere else, and she's basically telling the girl, don't say nothing to me, don't look over here, mind your business, and blacked out. Like right now, she can't focus on her date. She's just so pissed off with Fonzo and this woman. So she said, I don't know who you think you're talking to, but I'm grown, grown. I'm like, Shay, you don't want no smoke from Miss Detroit. You really don't. She's a grown woman. So she said, don't say nothing to me. They going back and forth, you know, don't talk, just keep your mouth quiet and stay over there because I wasn't talking to you. And now at this point, she said, well, what you going to do about it? What you going to do? You're not going to do nothing but sit right over there. So Fonzo, like, of course, he laughing it off like it's nothing, telling her she need to chill. Shay wants to jump up out of the seat and said, well, what you going to do about it? So now her date got to get up and try to defend her. And now it's about to go on in this restaurant. So now Tay jumps up and said, you don't want none of this because, I think you got a problem with the fact that I'm pretty or whatever. And Fonzo got to tell her to be quiet and please sit down. And she was like, okay, baby, I'm going to sit down. So here we go, back and forth. Shay jumps up again, all in her face, about to go at it. I'm like, Shay, come on. I thought you was a little bit more classy than that. This is totally uncalled for. So here, Tay jumps up again. And this is when, Fonzo tried to get her to sit down. And she was like, okay, baby, I'll have a seat. But Shay is still at it. Shay is so pissed off. It's the fact that Alfonso is out with another woman. Forget the exercise. Forget what you were supposed to do, because that's what Fonzo said. Dr. Nicole said to focus on your date and not on your mate. But I guess she forgot about that part, or maybe she did. But the fact is, Fonzo, she experiences this with you all the time. And that's why she's so hurt. Even if it's consensual, she realizes that this is something that she's been going through for a long time. So it's embedded in her. She's always fighting for his attention and his love. So she's going off. The girl was like, I don't even know why you acting like that. And, you shouldn't have came on the show if it's like that. She was like, oh, shut the F up. So they go at it again. Fonzo tries to go over there to cool Shay off. She ain't trying to hear a doggone thing. The date is over. My poor man Shar is like, I'm trying to get her attention to focus back on me, but it's not working. And I'm like, nah, bro, it's not happening. So she's still going off, jumped up, like she want to curse and fight Tay again. At this point, Fonzo like, I gotta go. She said, let me get the F up out of here. Before I hurt this girl, she said, you ain't gonna do nothing now. This is the part where I said, this is like I said before, Shay, you don't want no smoke. Old girl picked up a plate and she was about to wail on Shay. She don't want none of Miss Detroit. She really don't. Old girl was coming at her. And my man, her knight in shining armor, Mr. Brooklyn, that's why I love this brother. He jumped up and got in between to break them up and calm this whole thing down. Where is Fonzo in the back? Like, Fonzo, come on. So that was it. At the K9 House, Japanese steak and seafood. It was lit. So let me tell you, I cannot wait for next week. It was on and popping. Shay, chill. Until next week.